Hey everybody, it's time for another round of the trans pronoun debate. Are you sick of this debate yet? I know I am. What's up guys, Acerthorn here, and this is Purple Politics. Today, I'm responding to a video by Yuval the Terrible, or just Yuval for short. He is a TikToker and lately a YouTuber with a very keen eye for detail and very articulate speaking style. He first built up his following on TikTok by making videos discussing anomalies in the English language as well as linguistics overall before switching to politics. Now, before I continue, I want to emphasize that I hold Yuval no ill will in this video. He is an extremely intelligent man, and I have the utmost respect for him. In fact, I would be honored if he would have me on his own channel doing a collaboration, possibly even a live stream debate on some topic, perhaps even this topic. That said, in this one specific instance, Yuval, you're full of shit. The video I'm responding to today was published on or around September 5th, 2023, where he defended a lesbian couple who were downright hysterical when they got misgendered by a bartender and then kicked out of the bar. That's not the part I wanted to discuss, though. After he said his piece about that specific issue, he then turned his attention to the more general issue of trans pronouns and compelled speech, and that is the part I want to address today. Before I do, however, I want to emphasize that all my previous videos on the topic of trans pronouns are meant to be behind this video. I have one video on this channel, but also two more videos on my main channel. Ever since I started this Purple Politics channel, my main channel is now gaming and comedy focused, while all political discussions go here. But these first two videos predate me starting this extra channel. That said, if anyone, including Yuval, wishes to respond to anything I say here, I will not engage with you if you make a retort that I have already debunked in one of my earlier videos, unless you also address the debunking I already did. It's just like my recent video on my main channel, where I refused to engage with someone else owing to the fact that he is only repeating the same tired old arguments I had already debunked countless times before. To ensure that you remember to do this, I'm going to use this symbol. Anytime this symbol flashes on screen, that means that the thing I'm talking about at that point in time is something I expect people will have a retort for, but I've already rebutted that retort in a previous video. Therefore, this symbol should serve as a reminder to watch my earlier videos before you start smugly and arrogantly spouting the first thing that pops into your head and acting like it's a highly clever and profound retort in that you are a genius for thinking of it. So, with that being said, let's discuss Yuval's take on the trans pronouns compelled speech issue.
It definitely seems kind of strange that somebody that is seemingly female presenting would get this upset just because a complete stranger referred to them as a lady.
Just 5 years ago, I would have agreed with you that this was a little strange. However, ever since the trans visibility movement has happened, I'm frankly not surprised by anything anymore. The trans community has become so self-entitled and so vitriolic. If their demands are not immediately complied with by literally everyone in the world, then I honestly would not have been the least bit surprised if this really was what happened. Yes, you proved that the original video that Clarkson was responding to did in fact have additional context that he left out. But Clarkson's version of events has become so commonplace in recent years that 99% of us are far too used to it to actively do any more research.
If I called you a piece of shit and you said, hey, please please don't call me that. Are you compelling my speech and forcing me to cater to you?
You know, Yuval, I'm disappointed in you. I believe it was you who specifically said...
Remember, you are not normally just shouting out verbs into the air in a vacuum. They exist in a conversation or in a context in which it is already clear, because the truth is that these grammar rules do not give the context of the conversation. The context gives the conversation its context. You ultimately already understand what the specifics of the conversation are.
In fact, this entire video was made in the first place specifically because you were calling someone out for leaving out crucial context. So you really have no excuse for this. Tell me, Yuval, in what hypothetical context would someone call you a piece of shit and it would be contextually appropriate for you to politely ask them not to do that anymore? If you're in a conversation that has escalated to the point where people are calling you that, there's a 99.99% chance that politeness has left the building ages ago. Now, if you want a hypothetical situation where something similar actually has a reasonable chance of happening, consider this. Imagine we're having a friendly conversation and I mention that somebody else is a piece of shit. Then you ask me, please don't cuss around me, it makes me uncomfortable. In that case, yes, you are indeed trying to control what I can and cannot say. You absolutely have the right to request that I not cuss around you, but you also have to understand that I likewise have the absolute right not to oblige that request. If I choose not to oblige, you do not have the right to start harassing me in retaliation. You can refuse to be my friend and disengage all communications with me, but that's all you can do. You certainly don't have the right to do something like...
Fuck you! 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 Fuck you!
Yeah, when it comes to the whole pronoun debate, I might have been willing to reconsider my position at first, many years ago. But self-entitled and hyper-aggressive twats like this only caused me to dig in my heels. And now I'm just fresh out of fucks to give about trans people and their so-called rights. Like the Baron's daughter in Witcher 3.
You're not my father, and I care not a bit what befalls you.
When you react to literally anyone who expresses even modest concern over various issues with the trans movement with anger, name-calling, fighting words, and harassment, you have no right to act surprised or offended when that only alienates the very people you're trying to bring to your side.
When I was in college, one of my friends stopped going by their last name because she had become estranged from her dad. Her legal name did not change. Was she compelling our speech by asking us to refer to her by her mom's last name instead? Guess what? None of us did that. And referring to her by a different last name was not difficult.
Once again, I'm disappointed in you. You build your follower base on TikTok by making videos discussing the nuances of linguistics. Therefore, you should know better than anybody that pronouns and proper nouns are two completely different sets of words that fulfill two completely different linguistic functions. One of the biggest differences between a pronoun and a proper noun is that a proper noun can literally be anything. Speaking of your friend, if her ID, birth certificate, etc. all said that her last name was well, that might be a bit weird, but if that's her last name, then that's her last name. By contrast, pronouns do indeed have rules to them. Historically, they and them have been used in only two contexts, plural and when you don't know who the other person is. Not just that they're androgynous and you can't tell what their gender is, but when you literally don't know who the other person is at all. Any other context, and the use of they-them pronouns is just grammatically inappropriate. Even when it comes to first names, there really are no rules at play, only very loosely enforced social customs. For example, it's practically unheard of for a white Christian conservative couple whose whole family 3 generations back have been natural-born US citizens to suddenly decide to name their son Ahmed. Yeah, that would be kinda weird if it happened, but unlike with pronouns, there's no rule in the English language, or to my knowledge, any language for that matter, saying it would necessarily be grammatically incorrect to do so. Now, to your other point, that respecting your friend's wishes wasn't hard for you. Well, in addition to there being no such thing as a grammatically incorrect proper noun, there's also the fact that she only wanted to change her last name, whereas you probably all referred to her primarily by her first name. But even more to the point, there's also the simple fact that, unlike the trans community, your friend gave you no reason not to oblige her request. By contrast, the trans community is not requesting, but demanding that we change our speech patterns in a way that makes us uncomfortable, and if we don't immediately oblige, their response is,
Fuck you! 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 Fuck you!
what if your friend was a bitch? Would I be justified in refusing to call her by her preferred last name then? What if calling her by her mother's last name reminded me of some trauma from my past, so it made me uncomfortable to say it, so I decided not to say her mother's last name, and she cussed me out over not respecting her wishes? Would I then be justified in doubling down and just calling her Emily Cuntbag instead? Those on the left style this whole pronoun debate as simply being respectful of other people's feelings, but what about my feelings, huh? Do they not deserve to be considered alongside yours?
I really dislike it when these things are framed as people compelling someone else's speech or making you say something. No one's making you do anything.
Oh, that is a very bold statement. That nobody is making us do anything. Out of a global population of 8 billion people and a national population of 340 million, you say that there is not one single solitary person who is using or even trying to use any sort of coercive tactics to get me to change my speech patterns against my will. Do you honestly believe that? Now, to be fair, I will concede this much. To date, I have not seen or read about a single documented instance of a trans person literally putting a gun to someone's head and forcing that person to use the pronouns the gun wielder wants them to use. But that's not the only way you can coerce someone, and you damn well know it. Newsflash: harassment is a type of coercion. Cyber stalking is a type of coercion. Shouting "fuck you" over and over again 1 foot from someone's face is a type of coercion. Firing someone for allegedly not being inclusive is a type of coercion. And yes, going on social media and putting a business on blast so other people will harass that business on your behalf is a type of coercion. So don't you dare stand there and fucking gaslight me by telling me that nobody is trying to force us, because I know from personal first-hand experience that there are loads of people doing exactly that.
They're asking you to abide by societal norms that we have absolutely no trouble understanding in virtually any other context.
Big difference. It's not a societal norm that people get to choose what pronouns other people use when referring to them. That's only ever come into existence in the past half-decade or so. Even in the example you gave of your friend wanting everyone to call her by her mother's last name, it's still a huge stretch to call that a quote-unquote societal norm that people can just choose to be called by a different name without formally changing their name on all their legal documents. At least with women, especially straight women, there is a societal norm of them changing their last name through the simple expedient of getting married. But even then, the woman doesn't get to just pick whatever last name she wants. She typically only has two options: adopt her husband's last name or keep hers. As for the part about being able to understand the societal norms in nearly every other context, as I've hopefully demonstrated, though let's be honest here, my arguments are going to fall on deaf ears no matter what I say, there is a metric assload of nuance to these so-called norms that make them highly distinguishable from the trans pronoun issue, not the least of which being the extreme sense of self-entitlement that trans people have in making these demands, and the sheer vitriol and aggression if their demands aren't met. Put simply, I might have been willing to reconsider my position on the whole pronoun thing a long time ago, but now the harassment I've suffered at the hands of people like you have only made me double down. So that was my latest take on the issue of trans pronouns and extreme trans entitlement. If you enjoyed this video, regardless of whether you agree with my opinion or not, be sure to subscribe for more Purple Politics videos. Once you've done that, check out my featured video for returning subscribers for ways you can support the channel through monetary donations on my Patreon, as well as over at my gaming channel. In the meantime, however, I am Acerthorn, and this has been Purple Politics.